Great to have Nicky Sila Lee with us, who pioneered the marriage course and founded Relationship Centre. Give him a warm welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Great to be here with you. 5 minutes each threatens to put a serious strain on our marriage, particularly as I'm going first. I want to give a little bit of background to a course that we started about a year and a half ago, still very much in its pilot stage, at HTB, which is the church we belong to, called the Relationships course. With all the various courses that we were running, Carl mentioned some of them, there was nothing, we realized, around relationship education for single people. And yet at HTB, as in many of the churches you represent, we've heard about, we have lots of unmarried 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, people in their 30s, 40s, and so on. Huge numbers, actually, on Alpha, where the average age on Alpha is 27 years old. Many of them become Christians, join the church, but relatively few then go on to get married and to marry each other. And so we have people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, not married, many of them who would love to be. And as Annabelle said right at the beginning, very little dating going on. I can't remember whether somebody's already said the phrase, it seems to be sort of frozen. There are various reasons for that. I think the sort of goldfish bowl mentality, everybody knows when you're going out with somebody, when you stop going out with somebody. But I think much more than that, we are hugely affected by the culture of our age. We can't, it would be naive to think that we're not, that we're hugely affected by the individualism of our age, the short-termism, if that's a word, I don't know, of our age, the loss of confidence in marriage, and for many people, no apparent reason to get married, no longer any social pressure towards getting married. And this has led to a loss, I think, of a common understanding between men, between single men and single women, about, I know it's an old-fashioned phrase, but about courtship. It is fascinating, isn't it? It continues to be fascinating how popular Downton Abbey is. I mean, nothing really happens in Downton Abbey, and yet millions of people just go on watching it Sunday in and Sunday out. I read a fascinating piece in the Daily Mail. Carl, don't worry, I don't normally read the Daily Mail. I don't subscribe to it. However, if I'm getting on a flight, there's a freebie. I cannot resist freebies. I always pick it up, flick through. There's usually something on relationships in the Daily Mail. There was this piece about why Downton Abbey is so popular. It said this: it depicts an old-fashioned world where love and courtship were steeped in tradition and men were noble. And for the many millions who watch the show avidly, it's this mix that is the key to Downton Abbey's success. Women in particular delight in being transported into a more orderly time when social etiquette was clearly defined. And of course that social etiquette doesn't apply to one particular class of society. Downton Abbey goes across different classes. And of course, sometimes that social etiquette is stifling, it's unhelpful, the social rules weren't always followed, which is what creates many of the plots and the subplots. But those rules created a culture that was sort of understood by everyone. They created a culture that enabled people to move from being single to being married. And in our society today, we've lost that sort of social etiquette. You know, today, for many people, it's meet in a club, flirt, check out the sexual chemistry. If there is sexual chemistry, go to bed together. If there's chemistry, continues, start living together, see how it works out. We've moved a long way as a society from the Bible upholding singleness highly and upholding marriage. We've got to talk both of these up today, because actually our society tends to have rejected both and gone for something in the middle, a succession of semi-permanent relationships, live together, sexual relationship, while preserving individual independence. And I think we have to look again at why the Bible affirms singleness and marriage, what it means. Because dating, if we're to re-establish a sort of dating culture and understanding, it's about moving from being single to being married. It's a bit like sort of markers in a race. I remember it was about 1.5 years ago. I suddenly got fascinated by the America's World Cup. You know, these boats, yachts, costing hundreds of thousands of pounds, that are sailing, two boats sailing against each other, and the winner is the first to win 9 races. Apologies for a moment to any New Zealanders here. Any Kiwis amongst us? I'm so sorry. I'm going to bring up a painful, painful memory. The New Zealand boat were 8-1 up in the series of races. It only had to win one more race to beat the American boat. And it was at that moment that a British knight got on board the American boat by the name of Sir Ben Ainslie, and the US came back to win the America's Cup 9-8. It was one of the most phenomenal turnarounds in sporting history. But anyway, enough of that just for a moment, the score, because the point of it is, the yachts, if you've ever watched it, they go around a course that is marked out by boys. And what Ben Ainslie was doing all the time was checking the position of the boat he was on against these boys. Without those markers, there's no race. There'd be no point, just a lot of boats sort of cruising around trying to look impressive. And I think that's a pretty good picture of what's happened in our culture regarding singleness, dating, marriage. We're all at sea. And no wonder it's hard to navigate, because we've lost the markers. And that's the great need, is to re-establish these markers, singleness, marriage, and then to plan the best route to get from one to the other. There are a number of people here who've been a huge help and inspiration to us in getting this course sort of just starting to get it underway. Annabelle and Adrian came to see us. Kilian came to see us from Amsterdam. We're running a similar course at her church Crossroads called The Sense and Nonsense About Dating, actually significantly based on that book that Annabelle recommended, Henry Cloud's book, which is the best one that we have come across, How to Find a Date Worth Keeping. Anyway, Sila's going to say something about what it involves.
Yeah, well, David's statistics are very depressing, aren't they, about the state of our church communities and ignoring single people. And I think we've seen and known that at our church for many, many years. There has been a missing piece of the jigsaw. And in terms of specifically supporting and teaching and encouraging single people about healthy, godly relationships with people of the opposite sex. We have not been good. And that was really something that Nicky and I have had for a long time, but haven't really been able to put into action. And I mean, we've done over the years many one-off talks, but I don't think that is enough. I mean, as somebody else mentioned, you know, just a talk every so often or a seminar and, you know, whatever, doesn't do it. We knew there needed to be ongoing, regular teaching and encouragement about the really important issues and topics with a chance for people to discuss together for single people in our church. And really that's what we decided to try and do, as Nicky says, with encouragement from other people, to put together a course that is going to happen on a regular basis with this kind of support and teaching and encouragement. And so we have started this relationships course. It's just very bog standard, called the relationships course. And all our courses are very, very prosaic in title. And it says what it is on the tin. And it is 5 courses, 5 sessions, and it most definitely is still, as Nicky said, in development. So we are still working on it and the content and how to do it. We've piloted it 3 times at our church, And we currently do it by invitation, or if sort of word of mouth, somebody's heard somebody's been on it and they would like to come. And we have 50 people, around 50 people who come on it. And we run the course on a Sunday afternoon. We did a lot of research about when and how and blah, blah, blah. And Sunday afternoon we have hit on between 4 and 6. And we then encourage people to go to an evening service at church after the end of the session. And for these pilots, Nicky and I have been doing most of the teaching, but we have other people who will tell their stories. So we have single people, some who are in going out relationships, and others who are not, and they talk about their experiences of relationships. And as I've said, it's still very much in development. One of the key aspects is the small group discussion, and we have quite a large time for people to discuss in mixed groups the topics that we have raised each session. I want to show you, just do a very quick run through of some of the topics that we are covering on the course. So this is, oh gosh, you can't read it. I'll say it, don't worry. And this is really where we're at the moment. And I'm sure as we go through, you'll see lots of gaps, things that should be there that aren't there. We're still working on it. So session 1, we call Getting Started. The myths and reality about singleness, dating, and marriage. And we decided to get it going, and this is very much thanks to Alkaline as well. We have totally pinched, with her permission, her list of myths, and it really kind of gets everybody there into the zone of what we're dealing with. Let me just read you this list. Myth 1, I will know who is the right one for me when I first lay my eyes on him or her. Myth 2, if there's no spark, it'll never work out. Myth 3, when you feel butterflies, you know you're on the right track. Myth 4, it's important to find my type. Myth 5, if it's right, our relationship will progress without any problems. Myth 6, you complete me. Myth 7, there's only one spouse for me and God will bring us together. Myth 8, he, she will change once we're married. Myth 9, my life will really start once we're married. And myth 10, and we'll live happily ever after. Now, of course, there are many other myths out there, but you can just see there are so much stuff clogging our brains about this and hearts. Session 2, so we discussed a lot of that. Session 2, good communication, understand, and then we look at, good communication, and then we look at understanding differences, talking and listening skills, resolving conflict. That's really interesting for a number of years. On our marriage preparation course, we have many people who say to us, if only I'd known about this stuff before I got to this stage. And we hear it too from single people who come and help us and support us on running our other courses, the marriage prep and the marriage course, and they're hearing, and parenting courses, they're hearing practical relational skills talked about, and they say, we need this stuff. And we need it in a forum which is geared for us as single people. So that's what we're doing on this session. We're looking at the skills that help people to develop healthy relationships that will have the chance and the potential to go to marriage. Session 3 is sex and sexuality, the purpose and power of sex. Now, we live in a society with a largely distorted version of the purpose and power of sex, and Jason has talked and alluded to that, and it starts very early. There's a Christian writer and pastor called John Mark Comer who's written a book called Loveology, interesting title, and he says this: the serpent says the best sex is found in short, risky, promiscuous relationships with beautiful people. God says the best sex is found when a man and a woman say, till death do us part. And Jesus said, you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And we are wanting people to know, first and foremost, sex is good. And as Jason knows from speaking to many, many young people, that is not their impression or experience. And to walk in this freedom, the freedom of the truth about sex. Session 4 is healthy living, forgiveness and healing, past and present. People get into unhealthy patterns of relating for all sorts of reasons, but often because of hurt or abuse from the past and from models of dysfunctional relating that they have seen in their upbringing. What this leads to, for many, many, many people, is a mistrust cycle in terms of relationships, and often a huge fear of intimacy. We want to help people to recognize where this is the case and, where necessary, to help to signpost them for more help if they need more help than the course is able to give. And then we look at the centrality of forgiveness. It was brilliant, Catherine talked about forgiveness. Forgiveness in both past and present relationships, because it's at the heart of all relationships. And then the final session is called Moving Forwards. How do we know if we're right for each other? Someone we know who is a business consultant said this really interesting thing. He said, if you're going to create a culture which encourages lots of new business enterprises, you need to make it easy for businesses to start and easy for businesses to be wrapped up. When there's a culture like that, many, many more businesses actually start. And it's just the same with relationships. You know, we have to have a culture where people understand how, not only to start a relationship, but how to bring a relationship to an end if it's not right, and to do it well. Because when we do that, then we're going to encourage many, many more relationships to begin and then to end well. And so we look at that whole thing of...
You're talking about dating.
Oh yes, we're talking about dating, sorry. It's not marriage. No. This whole course is looking at kind of getting from a point of being single into dating and then going out. We differentiate between dating and going out. Dating is just literally getting together with someone for whatever, a cup of coffee, to play tennis, I don't know, anything, just to meet and to find out a bit more about them. That's dating. Going out with someone is when you become an exclusive relationship, and then getting married is when you make the commitment, okay? That's how we define it. So this is about, yeah, when you're in a going out relationship, you've become exclusive, but actually you discover, you know, this may not be the right person for me to spend the rest of my life with. We need to break up well, and there is ways of doing that, and we teach a lot about that because it engenders this culture of, there's not the fear, there is respect that it's going to be, you know, okay. That, yeah. So it does engender that. So that is really some of the stuff that, I mean, it's a tiny taste of some of the stuff that we are looking at. And as we've said, this is very much in development, but it is very much needed. And the really exciting thing is, even from the 3 pilot courses that we've run, we already have people who have come back to us and told us, you know, as a result of being on the course, I have first dated people, and I have never done that. We have heard that from both men and women, and going out, and we've even had people on our marriage preparation course because of that. So it has to be going in the right direction, and yeah, we just need to do lots more of it.